Today's episode is brought to you by AOS Kitchens, the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast. Owen and I are delighted and excited today to introduce this guest. So much personality and passion in there. Christian really needs no introduction. So here is DJ Barbecue.
DJ Barbecue, welcome to the podcast. We're very, very excited to have you here. Been following you for a very long time. Please introduce yourself. I'm pretty sure most of our listeners know who you are, but do give yourself an intro.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys even reaching out. It's always an honor doing a podcast and talking to fellow barbecue aficionados, live fire artisans, and just people who care about getting outdoors and cooking out. My name is Christian Stevenson, aka DJ Barbecue, and I kind of launched DJ Barbecue in 2012. Luckily for me, I got I was founded by Jamie Oliver's people, which kind of helped me really push the brand on YouTube with his channel. And then, I just kind of bought a food truck or built a food truck, bought some smokers, kind of tweaked them, put them on trailers and started hitting the festival circuit. And now I catertain for a living. And we wrote a bunch of books. And we just want to empower people to get outdoors and have a good time and cook out. That's what we do. We want people to cook deliciousness because I think it's an empowering thing. The quickest way to someone's heart is through their stomach and their ears.
Most definitely. So, 2012. So, already been doing DJ, under the DJ Barbecue brand for a long, long time. So where did you go from that kind of initial concept, as you said, working, kind of with the Jamie Oliver brand to, I'm just going to go buy a food truck, buy a load of smokers and off I go?
Well, in the concept, so I've always cooked barbecue and I've always DJ'd. So I cooked barbecue from the age of 6 because my mom was the disco queen of the East Coast. So she was at Studio 54 partying it up with like Andy Warhol and Grace Jones. My dad was a naval man. He was the officer and the gentleman, and he was stationed down in Virginia Beach, and the local beauty pageant winner fell for the officer and the gentleman. And my dad won me in a landmark court case in the 70s, and he knew barbecue because he grew up in Iowa, Midwest, and his dad cooked barbecue. He taught my dad how to cook barbecue, and then from the age of 6, I was cooking barbecue. And so it was always there, and I've always been DJing. I think I started DJing since 18, university, college, parties, and then went to radio. And then I just did a lot of like festivals. And I was at a festival called Loch Ness on the banks of Rock Ness on the banks of Loch Ness. And I was headlining, and my buddy, who's the Prodigy's DJ, Toby Milage, was opening for me. And he headlined on the Friday. We swapped headline sets. And I was like, I don't want to follow Toby. He's too good. Anyway, I was able to pull off a good set on the Saturday, but everybody started taking their clothes off on the Saturday night. And I was like 15 deep out of the tent, and everybody's like going for it. It's heaving, and everybody just starts chucking their clothes off. And I'm looking at this crowd. I'm like, what am I going to do when I turn 40? What am I going to do when I turn 50? And that's when I came up with the concept of DJ Barbecue. I figured I could make a destination because I've been doing all the festivals and I was doing destination stuff, but for brands and sound systems. And I was like, I'll give them a reason to stay. They might come for the music and stay for the food, or they might come for the, vice versa. So that's kind of how DJ Barbecue was born, because I've always enjoyed DJing and catertaining. I love to throw a party, and that's what we do now. And we've been doing, and I was building like the areas at festivals. We were like, gazebos, wood frames, corrugated iron, kind of like the juke joints in the South. We were kind of having those built. But it was like a day build and a day to take it all down. And I was like, okay, I need to get this quicker. And I need hot water. It got kind of a lot easier. And that's when I was at a festival for Renault cars, and Jamie had did a deal with them where they built Jamie Oliver 2 food trucks, and Jamie couldn't go to everything, so they would send me off to like, hey, represent Jamie Oliver, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I'm there doing some demos with his food truck, and it's got all the branding on it, Jamie Oliver Food Tube, Renault. And this guy taps me on the shoulder. I'm about to get some food. I'm actually ordering barbecue from like it's a Renault summer picnic.
Yeah.
And this guy taps me on the shoulder. He had a North American accent. He's like, so what do you think about the food truck over there? I was like, it's great. We're mobile. We can clean really easy. It's amazing to have hot water. But I said, don't tell anybody from Renault, but I'm gonna steal it when I'm done today. I think I said nick it, and then I go, I'm gonna steal it, but don't tell anybody. And I knew he was Renault. And he's like, well, don't steal it. I'll build you one. And I go, what do you mean, build me one? And he's like, I'm Ken Ramirez, CEO of Renault Europe. And he shook my hand, and within a year, he built me a food truck.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of, I was like, that's a big help. Because, it's really, barbecue's hard. Barbecue's a hard thing to do. And it's fun, but it's like, it's a long process and it's expensive. So any little help you can get, I'll take it. So now we have a food truck and we're mobile, and I put a hitch on it so we can pull the smokers and everything and do authentic Carolina barbecue.
Also, I suppose the barbecue culture in the UK would have been very different from where you grew up and everything. So barbecue in the UK in 2012 must have been very different. And what you brought to the table must have been shocking to people who've only had kind of half raw sausages in the middle for a lot of that time.
And that was it. Like, we were trying to like do like proper slow and low stuff and showing them how to like cook cheaper cuts, frontal muscles with all the collagen and the connective tissue, and how to treat those muscles so you can get a good result, something delicious. And also, how to cook even the stuff that we're used to cooking, like chicken and sausages and burgers and steak, and how to get a good result out of that. So you're not you're not getting food poisoning from salmonella.
Mm-hmm.
But England, I went to Grill Stock pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
I forget which Grill Stock we went to, like one of the first ones, 2014, 2015, 2016. And I was pretty blown away with the level of, where it was. Bunch of Swines went to the Kansas City championships and won,
Mm-hmm.
So England was, putting their name on the map quite early. But it was also letting everybody else know about it, and that's kind of what my mission was. I was the food editor for FHM, and I was writing, monthly articles in there to kind of like empower people to cook barbecue. So yeah, there's nothing better than helping people along that journey.
Mm-hmm.
So for complete newbies, no one's that's never picked up a grill before or never cooked anything over fire or charcoal. What would you say? What's the kind of biggest piece of advice that you'd give someone to try and give them confidence?
Indirect. Just give yourself safe zones. It's the one piece of advice I give most people, and then it changes their game.
Mm-hmm.
Always like two different. I mean, I cook a lot on a Kamado and a Weber, and with the Weber, I never have charcoal everywhere, unless I gotta get things done, and I'm cooking for lots of people, and it's a certain tool. But I just want temperature zones. Plus, I'm drinking a beer. You want to drink a beer, you want, places to go, and especially with chicken and the fats and thighs and dark meats, when those fats render, they hit the coals and you get the flames and all that. And just give yourself temperature zones. And also, I think later on I learned, when I cook barbecue, I don't probe. I've never probed. I've just done it by touch and feel. But when I'm roasting and grilling, I cook the temp, not the time. And those are like the two things I try to say, temperature zones, direct heat, and cook the temp, not the time. When it comes to grilling, because if you're going to go do a steak, that's a big investment again. Brisket's a big investment, but I'm looking for that wobble. Meat starts off soft, and then you put heat to it, and then it tenses up, and then when it's like a frontal muscle, then you want it to slow cook and then relax again and go swishy. Like, when you're putting your thumb between the bones on the ribs, or you're putting your thumb through the pork shoulder, you're looking for it soft to tough to soft again. And if you do it wrong, it'll stay tough. And that's where you don't want it to go. But it's just trying to find that arc where you get through the meat stall and you get goods. But yeah, but always invest in a good probe. I use a Thermapen, and when I'm doing steak, I probe the crap out of it, because I used to do it all by touch and what the steak feels like, and I still touch it. But when I want to pull it off, I want it at a certain temperature that I want to be able to let it rest so it hits where it's perfect. Like I cooked the turkey till 64 degrees and let it rest to 72. Because turkeys, if it's slow growth, will rise 10 degrees in an hour when it's out of the cooker.
It's that thing, isn't it? How it's also trusting the rest and trusting time to be on your side. I think that's one thing that we can be very guilty of, is rushing the afterthought, particularly if you've mistimed something, because barbecue takes as long as barbecue takes, right? But the rest
barbecue's done when it's done.
Yeah, exactly, right.
That's it. It's trusting the rest and trusting you. I guess the more you do it, the better you get at it, and that's why you guys are into it. Like, you know how to get good results, and it feels, getting to know your cooker, getting to know your fuel, getting to know the muscles, getting to know the touch and the probe and all that, and it's experience. During lockdown, I was doing a lot of barbecue because I had a little. I was a solo dad raising 3 boys on my own, and I have a little backyard in Southeast London, and I have a little Romeo and Juliet balcony. There's no balcony, but there's a little rail there where I can open up doors. And I was cooking by smell and what I could hear down there. But then if I couldn't hear it, I was just smelling, and I was like, oh my God, I think I'm running too hot, and I would run down and close my dampeners. But it's amazing how you get good at that. Like a lot of times my smokers, the gauges break. So we're just cooking, we're just touching the top of it. We're listening, we're smelling. It's really amazing to use those other senses to get the best results.
I mean, that's definitely taking it to the next level, though, isn't it? In that most people are very much going by their temperature gauge on the grill.
But it feels good when you can get there.
I'm not there, so it must absolutely be. But surely that must have taken.
Hey, dude, just use that nose. I know I got a big one.
But just going through that process then of being so reliant on those other senses, does that mean there has been some times when you're kind of getting used to that and not the visual of the thermometer, where it's completely not gone so well? Or
I think we did for 2 summers of festival catering. We didn't have, because like my things are made in Georgia in America. My smokers, they're Langs, they're offset firebox, and I had none of the gauges worked. So we just, it was myself, Choppy, and a guy called Matt Williams, who started Oxford Charcoal and then went on to do Whittle and Flame. And we would just be touching it. Matt Williams can move live fire around. So when he touched it, he was there for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. If it's running hot, you're like 2 seconds and you're burnt. But usually you want to be able to put your hand on the top of the smoker near the smokestack for about 5 seconds. You're like, okay, we're good. We're hitting. But that's how we cooked. Mm-hmm. And listening for that little sizzle, knowing those fats were rendering, and we're going to get through the meat stall.
It's pure intuition, then, isn't it? That's what you're running on.
Yeah. And then I called the guy who makes them. Can I get some temperature probes? Because there's people that because I might be DJing, and we have a sound system and a stage right next to the cookers and the food truck. So I got to do other stuff. So I got some probes that work, some temperature gauges. We had one smoker. I've sold it to Big Grill in Dublin that had, I think, 6 probes on it. It was 108 inches long. Lang.
Is that male inches or actual inches?
Yeah, 108 inches long. They call it the Intimidator. It's the biggest smoker that Ben Lang like rolls and makes, and it just took forever to get temp. So, and it's a pain in the ass to transport. So I sold that to a friend that runs the festival. So all the big pit masters, when they come over from America, they get to use that smoker. So it's always a joy to go watch those guys run my smoker. But I take a 60-inch offset Lang. I can fit about 22 to 24 shoulders in there, pork shoulders.
Wow.
And then I got a 42-inch grill in the front, so I can do burgers and shoulders. So I can do quicker food and slow food. Because I realized I kept running out of pork shoulder at festivals. I was like, well, can't just make it real quick. So I started doing burgers to just have something to feed the people.
Are they like smash burger type or
no? It's everything's over live fire.
Yeah.
I mean, I cook a lot of smash burgers at home, but
Yeah.
for festivals, everything's over live fire. We make our own charcoal. We get charcoal in from Love Logs, Black Dog Forestry. Always champion British made charcoal because the charcoal that's coming in from overseas has got retardants on it, and that's why you got to burn off all that crap, and it smokes. It's just so much chemicals, and it's decimating rainforest. So support your local charcoal makers. Buy British.
Yeah. Very much. Yeah, we talk about British a lot. Actually, just out of interest on that point, and talking about beef, I think specifically,
best beef in the world is in England.
Okay, yeah. So because I think there's obviously the conversation around brisket, right? And obviously where typically beef here is grass fed, it's leaner as opposed to a grain fed. I just wonder what your thoughts are, where you've obviously been both sides of the pond, what your preference would be.
I love a British brisket. I love it if I can get a good fatty one. Yeah. So we get a Black Angus Hereford crossbreed that works for us from Walter Rose and Sons. And I know Smokestack now are pretty much 100% British. That restaurant, and that's good to hear. But if you're just starting your journey, import like a Jacob's Creek Australian one or an American brisket just for that goof proofing.
Yeah, Owen and I have talked about that before. If I have people coming over, I am much more likely to do that because I know the one time I get it wrong is when I'm cooking for people. Whereas if I'm cooking for family, then I want that extra depth that you get from a good British piece, particularly, if it's aged, grass-fed. There's so much that you can get from that. Ex-dairy cows as well,
You want that dynamic flavor. That's why British beef's the best in the world. Because it's all grass-fed. You guys are a very lucky nation to have such wonderful beef. That's why I came here 32 years ago and never left.
Chasing the beef.
Chasing the beef. got a tattoo to my right butt cheek. And then the word anal with a question mark on my left butt cheek. I'm just kidding. My buddy is in the metal band. And he's got that tattoo.
And then a tape just on the lower back.
I love comedy tattoos. Maybe it wasn't comedy. Anyway, I digress.
So, obviously, like you said, we see your name, and we've seen you at various festivals. And I saw you were doing some bits at Pub in the Park. Was the most recent festival that I went to a few months ago. Like, you must be one of the busiest men.
Mixed grill sword, I think. If you were there a couple months ago, like we cooked everything from a mixed grill, but the whole part of the animal and put it on a sword because that was Choppy's idea. Because we did Burger Sword for. Sorry to interrupt you, but we did Burger. We toured Burger Sword for a while. I kept calling Choppy, who I write the books with, and who's my partner in crime, godfather of my child, one of my best friends in the world, and I always say we should do a recipe from one of the books and push the book. And he's like, Burger Sword. I go, Burger Sword is not a recipe. It's not even in any of the books. He's like, but that's what the crowd wants. Because we would cook 20 burgers in 10 minutes and put them on a sword. And then we run around the crowd and hand burgers off a sword. They taste better. And kids love it,
Yeah, I love the joy of that as well. How can we make this better? Sword. Yeah. Can we have a roll bazooka to load it up as well?
Choppy does medieval battle reenactment, so he's got an authentic sword that he had handcrafted. Like Choppy's crazy. It's heavy. Like Choppy, basically, when we're doing like a demo, Choppy's, performing for the crowd, singing, he's doing musical medleys, and he's holding a sword whilst I'm cooking a leg of lamb, 3 ribeyes, a whole, like a big thick gammon steak, a bunch of eggs, everything you can imagine on a mixed grill, a full chicken. Like at first I was taking apart all the animals so I can get them done, but Choppy's like, no, they need to be whole. I go, it's gonna take a while to do a leg of lamb, and he's like, I know, but it'll look better, and he was right. So the first time I did it, I took apart the chicken, I butterflied the lamb, so it was all a bit quicker to cook, and I can get it on a sword. But then I started cooking like hours in advance with everything else, and just made sure it was all kind of like done and on the home stretch before we finished the demo, and just put it on a sword for him. So Owen, you saw. If you were
and
Park, you got to witness.
Yeah, so I was at the St Albans one, and again, just obviously the crowds absolutely love it.
They love it. It's pure entertainment, and then they get
to
eat it.
Exactly. I suppose where does the you've been doing it for a long time now, and just in the way that you talk, still very, very much passionate. We can hear the passion in your voice. What continues to drive you in terms of barbecue and doing things like that, live demos?
That's a good question. What drives me? 4 children to pay for a really expensive course. No, there's a joy in, you guys cook barbecue. Mm-hmm. There's a joy in feeding people good food.
Yeah.
And I know we add more with the entertainment, the stages, the music, we've added pyro, smoke machines, bubble machines. We do a lot more, and the outfits. But there's a joy in giving people good food, and I like cooking for I want a footfall of 30,000-40,000 people. I want that footfall, and so I can just feed them all. If they're hungry, I'll feed them. And then I love cooking for family and friends, and feeding a dozen, 20 people, whoever come over, and everybody's always looking at me like, oh, don't you get stressed? And I go, God, no. There's there might be some little moments where you're trying to get your timings right, but for the most part, I'm in my zone when I'm in the kitchen or I'm outdoors cooking. I had a Kamado Joe, 2 Webers going, the stovetop, and I was even using the oven, which we just fixed because the oven broke as soon as we moved into this house in Nottingham. So it's been really fun working off just outdoor cookers for since I moved in March. And I did get the missus an air fryer just for ease. So yeah, basically a Kamado and a Weber and an air fryer have been our cookers.
Are you talking about the original kettle or maybe the big ranch one?
The Weber, the 57. I have a ranch, but it's in the basement. I haven't built it yet. We use the big one at festivals for our buns. The problem with those, they get hot.
Yeah.
And I'm just burning arm hair, so I can only put a fire on one corner because those things hold a lot of fuel.
It's quite a deep basin, isn't it?
Yeah, they hold fuel. Even when I used to use a drum BBQ a lot, those oil kind of ones, oil drums. If you put anything in the back, you're asking for trouble getting that food from the back just because there's all that heat. That's why it's important to have indirect cooking. You don't take off all your arm hair. But yeah, I think it's a joy of giving people good food. And plus, when people buy our books and they tell us, "Hey, do you know the movie Paddington?"
Yes.
So Hugh Bonneville, I know Madonna told me to quit name dropping. Hugh Bonneville did an interview, and my phone went crazy one day saying Hugh's just come out with this interview praising DJ Barbecue, and I'm like, what? And I look and I find the article, and he's saying, yeah. They go, they asked him, Hugh, do you cook? He's like, I love cooking barbecue. And I bought a book by a guy called DJ Barbecue called Fire Food, and it was in this book where this American gentleman told me nicely what I was doing wrong. and I was like, man, what a nice way to say, don't put charcoal the whole way through a Weber, give yourself some temperature zones. I know that's what he learned. And I was like, oh man. And then we just came out with Backyard Baking, our kind of bread and barbecue book. And I sent him a signed copy from all the guys we wrote it with, David Wright, Choppy, and myself. Just, I was so thankful. And he took a photo of himself holding it up and put it up on his Instagram. I'm like, Hugh,
Wow.
thank you. You can't, that's just, I love when that happens. But yeah, it's teaching people. Like I did a course last weekend or 2 weekends ago in SoCal in Southampton.
Yeah.
We did a greatest hits kind of day, like all the most loved recipes from the books. So pulled pork, how to really get the easiest, how to cook ribs really easy, St. Louis style, baby back, those kind of sizes, tomato pie, how to cook steak, different, everything from ribeye to bavette. And just gave people knowledge and let them talk. And that was a wonderful day. And it was in the rain too, but it didn't dampen the spirits. We had a wonderful day with like 20 people that wanted to learn how to cook barbecue. And I love teaching. So I'm doing courses with Elke, Hunter Gather Cook. We're doing more in SoCal. So there's a ton coming up. Just follow our Instagram and you'll see us, what we're up to.
Yeah, like I said, you must be one of the busiest men in barbecue. Always doing masterclasses or books or
in America filming, because
I was just saying you've just done that Lost in series, right?
That was season 2. So yeah, I was doing like a week here and then 3 weeks over there. So we moved here in March and I haven't been here. I mean, you're luckily you're in the only room that we've kind of done apart from the bedroom. This is where we spend most of the time. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So right now I'm looking forward to, because winter is kind of, I wish we cooked more in the winter outdoors. I think that's that I used to go on This Morning a lot when Phil Schofield was hosting, because he loves barbecue, and they would always have me on the hottest day of the year, the first hottest day of the year, and Phil would always say, why do we call DJ Barbecue on the hottest day of the year to stand around hot coals? And I said, I really appreciate it, but I would love to come during the winter and in the kind of darker months. I think that's the best time to cook. Like, this is my favorite time to cook out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I went over to Owen's house, what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Time's flying at the moment. And it's freezing outside and we're slipping over on ice, but there's nothing more joyous while that's happening to be cooking in the background and doing a whole host of different types of meats. And as you said, having a beer cracked open, that's far, for me, more enjoyable than being out there in 30-degree heat, burning from two sides.
Yeah. Why would you want why do you want to stand around hot coals in like super hot weather? Nah. Like post September, except end of September into like April, May. That's the perfect time to cook out before it gets too hot. And I wish we pushed that more in this country. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do, is get people to cook and using seasonal ingredients and doing more stews and chili. Just get outside, don't just think about grilling direct, so you have you get in the char. Just put a big pot out there, make red beans and rice and chicken thighs and chorizo, do a stew, do a chili, but you get your cauldron out there, but light a fire and stand around the cooker and cook outdoors and stay warm and get fresh air. It feels good.
I mean, yeah, we obviously agree massively that 365 barbecuing, as far as I'm concerned, but it is amazing still. And when we just talk to people at work or friends and family, and they're just like, "What? It's 1 degree outside, and you're cooking outside." It's like, well, yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun, so you should definitely give it a go. But there is still a reluctance, to do that, and I don't get why. But
there's a dude in Buffalo, New York. Now, if you guys are familiar with how much it snows in Buffalo, New York, if you watch like the Buffalo Bills, the football team, the NFL football team play, they play in a lot of snowy conditions.
They don't have green grass there, do they? It's white.
No. It's just there's a guy called Ryan Gonzalez. He was born in Kerala in India. And age 16, he moved to Dallas, and he does this Texas brisket biryani, his grandma's biryani with his brisket, and it's called Southern Junction. And I went and visited him and did some filming with him when I was doing some filming with Ardbeg Whiskey, doing some ambassador work for them. And it was one of the best things I've ever tasted. But he had a smoker, and the firebox was the biggest firebox I've ever seen. It was about the size of that TV.
Wow.
But it was insulated. Because I go, wait, you've insulated your firebox, so there's walls and walls, and then the fire. He's like, well, yeah, I cook in like 3-4 feet of snow. I have to dig out my firebox just to get a fire going in there, and so I'm not battling cold. So we had a custom built with an insulation on the firebox.
Wow, I suppose that helps maintain the heat as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my Lang's rolled 1/4-inch steel, so it purrs,
Yeah.
And that's why people are like, what do I buy as my first cooker? And they want to get like a cheap offset, and they buy like the Landmans or whatever those things are from Costco, and they break. But it's a good, I guess, entry point cooker. But that's why the ceramics are so good, because they're efficient. You don't have to keep re-adding fuel, and they just purr. That's what you want. You want a cooker that purrs.
We've talked a lot about kind of the different opportunities of types of grills you've been able to cook on over the years, and smokers and everything. Do you have a next toy in mind that you're hoping to get to cook on or do something different with?
That's a great question, my friend. My next toy.
Because they are playful, right? That's what
you know where I really want to go is I want to play more with pizza.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at more, and I've gone through a couple, ovens that way, like like kind of gauzy type cookers, and I have a little one, the rock box in the backyard. But I really want to just dive more into pizza, because meat's expensive, and I really want to play with New Haven style pizzas and New York style pizzas. I'm over Neapolitan. I don't want to chew on dough for a week, but I want to be able to play with the ovens that will get me that. So I think the kit I'm looking at right now are pizza ovens, and that kind of that kind of kit. But yeah, I always say have a Weber as your first cooker, a Weber 57 Mass Touch. That's your first cooker you should always have, because it's accessible, it's affordable. I know Broil King out of Canada, which is a family-run operation, they're doing a kettle soon, and they're doing like a smoker, like a pellet / I think gas like hybrid that they're working on. I'm looking forward to checking that out. My KJ has been my go-to for the last couple of years. I'm loving my KJ, my Kamado Joe. But yeah, I think I just want to experiment more with like kind of pizza ovens, and that's like the next kit. Because I've got the Langs. I've got 3 Langs, a 108, a 60, and a 36. So I've played with them. Next, or maybe some cabinets. I did build an offset smoker that I turned into a lightsaber.
Oh wow!
If you want to see a pretty crazy build, that's on YouTube. Lightsaber smoker with DJ Barbecue. It's proper.
If you're listening, pause, go look that up, and then come back.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do after this.
Yeah, stay here. But when you're done, go look up lightsaber. Use the pork. Yeah. By the way, when I first started describing the kind of indirect method, I called it the Death Star technique. So charcoal on both sides, like in the Weber, and then no charcoal in the middle. That's how I put like a chicken in there, or like a lamb. Your big cuts, but over indirect heat. But it's kind of how in Star Wars: A New Hope, when Felicity Jones in Rogue One gets the plans to blow up the Death Star. She passes away. She dies to get those plans so we can blow up the Death Star. And that's how I would set up my grill. So charcoal here, nothing here. And that's where Luke Skywalker goes with the X-Wing.
Yeah.
The guys yelling, stay on target. And
so Luke, like, is the temperature dial then like the amount of distance you've got until you have to shoot. And that when you get to the Master Jedi level, you take it off because you can tell by the
Take it
smell and
off.
the feel.
That's it. That's where I'm trying to get to. Use the Force, Luke. You get rid of it. You get rid of all the tech, and you send us 2 shots down the exhaust and blow up the Death Star, and then you eventually, because all Luke's trying to do in that movie is get the girl, kiss the girl who ends up being his sister. It's a whole movie based on incest.
Yeah,
I mean, there's been worse movies made. So,
well, luckily, Han Solo moves in, and they make Kylo Ren, and they make a bigger Death Star out of a planet, and history repeats. That's Star Wars. Sorry for the spoiler, folks.
Yeah,
I was just getting to watch them.
60s.
Sorry, Owen. Sorry, Owen.
What I would love to.
Can I show you my favorite book that I found in a charity shop?
Yeah, go on. Show us.
Okay. It's from 1938. I found this in Plumstead, Woolwich. And can you imagine that you got your first electric or cooker, because everything was live fire.
Yeah.
Your hearths, with hooks, everything was barbecue. Everything was live fire. 1938.
Wow.
And this just tells you what to do with the refrigerator, with the cooker, with all these appliances that are pretty, back in 1938, it's a big deal.
Mm.
So, but of course, back then they'd have like 3 or 4 recipes on a page. They assume you know how to do everything. Grapefruit cocktail, gooseberry cocktail, melon cocktail, cream of lentils or dried peas, cream of celery, and there's still 2 more recipes on that one page. It's just crazy.
Wow.
So this is one of my favorite books. I try to reenact some of these recipes, but I bring them back outdoors.
Yeah.
But apparently Elizabeth Craig was the Don. Like, she was the Delia Smith back in the 30s and 40s.
Wow.
It's finding something like that is real kind of food history, and to see it going back outdoors is very full circle, which is great. That feels like you have just pitched a TV show through the podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, we there's a lardy cake in there that we took it back outdoors and we did for backyard baking, and it's one of the most gorgeous things. I think Dave Wright. So we wrote, Choppy and I teamed up with a 2017 Baker of the Year, David Wright, 3rd generation baker out of Woodbridge.
Very close to me. Very close to me. I'm Ipswich based.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Familiar with Woodbridge?
Yes.
Also the birthplace of Voldemort.
Yeah. Well, we win some. They win some. They lose some.
Well, I was trying to get my kids. We were going to open up a restaurant there, a barbecue pizza place, in his family's old bakery. And I was like trying to tell my kids, okay, I know you guys have been living in London, you got all your friends here, but we're thinking about moving to Woodbridge. And they're like, Woodbridge? And then I was like, it's the birthplace of Voldemort. And then they're like, oh, okay, now we're interested.
It's got a lovely national trust.
Yeah.
Son.
The way to a good table. I wish I took better care of it because I left it in my basement. Oh, look at her. Look at her. What do I do with this thing? But the thing is, so back then they were used to fires.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to bring it indoors. We've been cooking on gas for like 100 and, just over 100 years. Like, really, everything was fire. And now we're trying to, you guys and myself, we're teaching everybody, we're promoting people to get back out there and cook with fire. But back then they brought it indoors. That hearth was everything. That thing was huge. That's where everything happened.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because some of the brands have actually done electric style barbecues. Is it Weber Lumin? And I think Uni did an electric pizza oven that could be done indoors.
Well, look at Blackstone.
Yeah.
I mean, they've just joined forces with Weber. I mean, they're now the same company, and they've revolutionized the outdoor cooking. But it's a griddle, it's a plancha. It's a big flat cooker, which is great.
I held off getting one for ages, and I love mine.
Good.
I've got a monolith Kamado, which I do a lot of cooking on, but I love being able to sear stuff on there. I love to be able to do kind of breakfasts on there, like pancakes on a Sunday for the kids and
Perfect.
stuff. It's having two very different cooking or barbecuing toys makes it feel that much more versatile. Nothing compared to kind of Owen's army of barbecues
What do
he
you got,
has.
Owen?
What have I got? So I've got a 57, Weber 57. I've got a Broil King keg.
Nice. Do you like it?
I do, yeah. So I won it through SoCal
There you go.
years and years ago, about 5-6 years ago. So it's just like a Kamado, isn't it? But just a cast iron version instead of ceramic.
Okay.
So it's quite good. I've got a Weber 57 Smoky Mountain.
Nice.
I've got a Della Vita wood-fired pizza oven. I've got an
Perfect.
Uni wood-fired pizza oven.
Wow.
I've just bought a Somerset grill, so the Asado,
Yeah.
which is really cool. Very, very
Where
good
do you
fun.
live?
Just in a normal house in Essex, just
Like
outside of.
near Colchester,
Yeah,
the oldest founded town in England.
absolutely.
You weren't ready for the
Yeah.
American to come up with that fact, were you?
I was not. No.
Dropping the
Roman built,
Caledonian
right?
facts.
Yeah.
Roman built.
Yeah.
No,
It is.
I
Yeah.
married and divorced an Essex girl from Colchester.
Okay. Yeah. So just outside. I've also got a Blackstone,
Nice.
and like a master built the portable the on the trolley that you can take with you.
The cabinet kind of style.
No, it's literally it's like a fold down. So it's a portable grill.
Okay.
So it runs on it's got like an air throw with batteries or you can plug it in,
Okay.
but you can take it camping and things like that.
Oh, nice.
And then like a cheap version of a Smoky Joe, the little Weber thing.
The little rectangle thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So yeah, quite a few.
Wow. Owen's rocking.
Yeah, he is a little bit.
My last house in London, I think I had about 12 cookers in the backyard, but I've been renting for like 10 years after the divorce. So I kind of lost a lot of cookers from my divorce. I mean, I had a beautiful Italian like one of those clay kind of like, pizza ovens.
Oh yeah.
Jamie Oliver hooked me up with. I mean, it was stupid money, and he like gifted it to me. And I had all this kit. I had my Lang in the front yard. I mean, I was just laughing. And then I got divorced, moved to London to a little 1-bedroom. And then I had the Weber. I had the oil drum that was like vertical. Pit barrel. I had a pit barrel, which was fun.
Yes.
Weber pit barrel and a drum BBQ. And that was like all I cooked on. That's what I wrote fire food on. I wrote fire food with Choppy there in that house. And I had a little garage so I could hold stuff in there. And I had a pinball machine. And then I got full custody of 3 kids. So I moved to a little 3-bedroom down the road in Southeast London. And then I was able to start stockpiling more kit. And then we moved to Nottingham because I was able to get back on the ladder. And I don't have a backyard. Can you believe it? DJ Barbecue does not have a backyard. I have a tiny ass courtyard. I mean, this room is twice the size of my courtyard.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It's small.
So what are you going to do with all your gear?
Well, you can't walk there because it's just all the gear, and I need to find houses around Nottingham where I'm going to start putting stuff where I can film because I've got a Kamado Joe. I got the new digital one I'm still building. And then I've got three Webers. I got a drum BBQ and I got the rock box, but there's just no room.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of try to whittle it down to like 3, maybe 4. So I went from 15.
It's hard to get rid of them though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so hard.
God. They feel like kids. Like I had a Traeger.
You got rid of your kids?
Yeah, that's it. I had an 885 Ironwood, and I didn't use it that often, but
someone told me Traeger's going down. Is that true?
Well,
I heard their market share is like dwindling and their stocks tanking. And I don't know who I spoke to, and they were like, I think Traeger won't be around next year. And I'm like,
Whoa.
oh, that's a big statement. I thought Traeger was like such a brand, like a Weber brand.
Yeah. Well, I heard something similar today.
Okay.
I don't think worldwide, but I just think certainly this side.
All right.
If you've been looking or thinking about an outdoor kitchen, then look no further than AOS Outdoor Kitchens.
They are the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.
Their extensive showroom is based just outside Bournemouth on the Dorset-Hampshire border, and as well as numerous in-store displays, also features a live outdoor kitchen where they cook every week on Kamado grills, pizza ovens, and all filmed and shown on YouTube.
They offer a wealth of knowledge on how to transform your patio into the most incredible outdoor dining area with styles and options to suit every budget, and you can guarantee they will be able to create something perfectly suited to you and your home.
They stock and supply everything that you're going to need for outdoor cooking, including barbecues, Kamado ovens, pizza ovens, outdoor fridges, and every accessory that you would need to become the ultimate outdoor chef.
So if you want to make yourself the envy of your friends and neighbours, get in touch with them today to arrange a consultation and take the first step in transforming your back garden into the most incredible entertainment space.
Visit aoskitchens.co.uk.
It's interesting because Owen and I have talked in depth about the more you play with fire, something like that is fantastic if you haven't got time, if you're worried about holding temperatures over a period, or if you're getting into it. But I think the more hardcore people now want to be playing with fire, and you don't have that element. Yes,
it's primal, Dan. Like it connects you to the earth, to who you are as a person, to being, to being a human. Once we discovered fire, that's how we developed as humans, as Homo sapiens. Like we were chewing food for 4.5 hours a day before fire, trying to get.
I still do, but I swallow most of it all the way through. So
digestion starts with mastication. Dan's got that tattooed on his right butt cheek. No, but I mean, if it wasn't for barbecue fire, we wouldn't have evolved.
Yeah.
Because now we chew for 30 minutes instead of 4.5. 4.5 hours a day we were chewing.
That's mad, isn't it?
To get through each day. And but fire changed that. So I think that's that primal thing you were talking about, Dan, is like when you really learn how to connect with your fire and it's funny because like everyone wanted a gas grill, and that's great. I started on a gas grill when I was 6, and I cooked on it till I was about 14, and then just started cooking on Webers and other cookers and smokers. And that once you get into the real fuel, that it just changes the way you want to operate. And I know people want ease, and that's great. I mean, I got the digital KJ, so I'm looking forward to playing with that. But there's a primal intensity of playing with fire that feels good.
Yeah,
you see it with children on campsites. Just staring at the fire and wanting to poke it with a stick. It draws you in.
That's exactly the reason I went for the Asado. That Somerset grill type thing. Just that, and Dan's come around and actually did it for the first time together, which was quite good. But you could just literally, I know we've talked about it so many times, but you could just look at it for hours. You could just watch the flame. It's just, like you said, so primal. And so I've just had an outdoor kitchen installed in my garden.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a proper life goal thing. I've been wanting one for a very, very long time. And Jody from AOS Kitchens that sponsors the podcast is so I got it from him, and he actually came up today and did some filming and videoing of the kitchen, and he was asking about the Somerset and what is it like. Fire does obviously take longer to get going, to get the coals whittled down into to the coals.
You're not speed cooking.
No.
But that's the point, isn't it? It's very much theater. Yeah, it's
theater, but it serves a purpose, Asador, and all that, and what that radiant heat. We I don't know if you guys have seen our setup at festivals when we're cooking for like the masses. We do a whole leg of cow on a spit. So we took
yeah.
apart a Land Rover winch system. Choppy did, because Choppy's an engineer. He got his degree in engineering, so he can build anything. And we take the whole top bit of a cow, the whole haunch, with the Chateaubriand and the rump. Like we get that whole bit, and we put a pole through it, and we spin it over live fire. We build a coal bed, and we're slowly. Everybody's like, "Well, how long do you cook it for?" I'm like, "Well, once the outside fats are rendered, I get a char on it. I can carve it because I'm carving rare."
Yeah.
And then but it's that radiant heat you want to kind of just start rendering fat.
Yeah. But it does take, like you said, you can't do it speedily, right? It does take, but then I think, if you are, most of the time we're doing it because we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's
In most of the
barbecue.
things. Yeah, exactly.
That's the
So
definition of barbecue is slow cooked food with sauce. That's the definition. Like in America, we don't call barbecue is not the cooker. It's not a verb. It's the food that's slow cooked. But I think it's okay to I call anything I think England, it's okay now to call everything barbecue, and to barbecue. I'm barbecuing. I think it's fine. I'm not pedantic about it anymore. But yeah, but the traditional word of what slow cooked meat is with sauce is barbecue. That's what it means. But yeah, I think I like how England's just it's an action.
yes.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like the history. I mean, being Welsh, maybe we look at it slightly differently from the empirical point of view, but like an empire was you took a bit from here, you took a bit from there, lots of awful things happened.
Sure.
But now what we have is a real melting pot of flavor, techniques, and we're not afraid to try different things and do different things. I think that's what separates British barbecue from what you're seeing over in the States.
I think England is one of the best places in the world to cook barbecue because of all the influences, and I think it's a melting pot of cultures. And I honestly believe London's in the top 5 for best food in the world. And I've walked this earth. I've been everywhere, and I think it's one of the England's great for food. Everybody kind of disses English food, but England's is an immigrant. It's made of immigrants, and immigrants bring delicious food and cooking techniques because no one invented barbecue. Barbecue was invented when people wanted to evolve, and that was with fire.
So we were asked similar. So we recently, it was actually quite weird us being on the other foot and being interviewed quite recently. But we were interviewed by the Barbecue Radio Network in the States, and he asked us how to describe British barbecue, and it was I think we almost used the term like fusion. Like it's not
which
just
is a naughty word, isn't it? But it's a good word to describe.
How else? Yeah, exactly. Because we're not just
amalgamation.
Cooking. Yeah,
I don't know what other words to use.
But
why has fusion become such a dirty word?
I don't know.
Because in the 80s they ruined it when they were talking about Japanese Italian fusion. By the way, if you go to Porto, there's so many Japanese Italian restaurants like together that are part of the same thing. You're like, what? But it's those cultures come together and they open a restaurant so you can get pasta and sushi.
I think that there's a lot of I want to say this right. There's a lot of snobbiness around tradition.
Yes,
and I think but it's also important to get the basics right. But but what you can always strive for improvement, right? So how do you strive for improvement without fusing things together? I don't know.
Well, I mean that's why I like England. I ain't leaving. You guys are great. Everybody talks funny over here.
We do like talking silly.
No, you have funny accents, man. You go to everybody's got a funny accent. No, but I think, and people are willing to learn, and you guys are. I think I find it a really good community. Like Country Wood Smoke, that forum, great community. What Marcus has built over there. Everybody wants to kind of lift each other up, and encourage people. I don't really find a whole lot of like nitpicking, and I don't find it too I don't really find it too clicky over here. In America, there's very regional barbecue, but here I'm up for everything.
Hmm.
I want to learn Northern Alabama white sauce. I want to learn about dry rubs from Memphis. I want to learn about Carolina mustard based sauces in this region. I want to learn about outside brown in the Piedmont region. I want to learn about vinegar based sauces. And that's so everybody's just up for it, and that's a good
Yeah,
positive thing.
yeah, it's quite. So we've interviewed a few people from America, and actually, so we've just recently released an episode from a lady called Sarah, who's got a huge offset smoke, and she does a lot of she basically cooks at a weekend and does everything meal prep, but it's all kind of. She was like, "I'm from South Louisiana. It's all Cajun style, and
Wow.
and that's what they do." And then we've Tina Cannon that was won the first series of that barbecue showdown episode TV. So it's Georgia, this is the type of stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Shotgun barbecue also on that show, he was like, this is the type of style, and it doesn't seem to be that like you said, it's that regional style. It's not the blend, the
Yeah.
fusion.
But you're seeing that in restaurants in America.
Yeah.
You'll see most places have a white sauce, have an Alabama white sauce. You'll see, and over here, I think when you have a barbecue place that's traditional American style, they'll have every sauce. Red Dog would do that. All those kind of early barbecue shops, places would champion a lot of the regions. If you ever guys get a chance to go to Memphis, I went to one of the oldest barbecue joints there is, and that's Rendezvous. They cook baby back ribs in an hour.
Wow.
They're in a basement, and they're in a cabinet, and there's 18 inches between. It's a charcoal. They're like Kingsford charcoals. 18 inches above that is the rail, and they put the baby backs here, bone side down, no seasoning.
Interesting.
45 minutes. Flip it for the last 15. Mop it with like a vinegar mop. They wouldn't tell me what's in it. I'm pretty sure it was kind of vinegar based.
Crack. Just vinegar based crack water. Just on there.
It's crack, mop sauce. And then they pull them out after an hour. God. And then they hit them up with the rub, which is they're Greek immigrants, but the father trained in Louisiana. So he's got Cajun meets Greek herbs, and that's the dry rub, and that's their signature rib, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
I've not heard anyone doing it that sort of way. You hear about like 3-2-1. You talk about people having it on for ages and ages and ages.
Here it's more 2-2-1 than 3-2-1 because they're not as big as the American ribs. But just 2-2-1's great. Yeah, hour rib. When a guy told me, I was like, hour? You're shitting me. And he's like, no, go talk to the pit master. He's been here 30 years and his son's over there on that pit. Go talk to Ernie and his boy. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, an hour. And their slaw was a mustard slaw, and it was delicious. I always had creamy slaws or vinegar slaws, and I never had a mustard slaw, and it was so good. And I love experiencing new barbecue.
Yeah,
I love seeing something new. That's exciting. I think that's what's so exciting for me is learning new techniques, like Piedmont region of Carolina, outside brown. My buddy Tyson Ho, he was doing whole hog in Bushwick, New York, and there's only 11 restaurants in America doing whole hog. It's a lot of work cooking a whole hog, and if you don't do it right, it starts. There are different muscles, and it looks like potted ham if you don't hit it right. And he would sit in restaurants all around the Carolinas and just sit there and watch what the locals order, because they would order off menu. And then what they would order was called outside brown, which is the burnt ends of the pork shoulder. They want that oxidation that, the fats have rendered. And he put it on his menu in New York, in Brooklyn. I go, how? You only get so much. He's like, I cut it in big slabs. And so I made more circumference area. So at SoCal, we did it. Because I showed him how I do. I prepped the shoulder, but I already had one cooking all night because it takes 18 hours. So I pulled that for him, but I had the shoulder that I prepped in season, and then we just took out the blade bone, made these big fat steaks, and then cooked them with a mopping sauce. And it was one of the best things I've ever eaten. I think they're also called Indiana steaks.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think Adam Purnell, Shropshire Lad, is actually, I told him the technique and he put it on his menu at Embers. So again, off menu items become menu items, and that's cool. So Indiana steaks, try it, man. Get burnt ends of the pork shoulder world. There you go. There's some. try that, Owen and Dan.
Yeah, sounds good. So I want to change the pace a little bit and just go to for all the great food that we're talking about. One of the things that we hold very dear on the podcast is barbecue fails. We want to hear some of the things that haven't gone so well. So, have you got any stories that you can tell us about some fails?
I've had, man, Jesus. I think my first event I did with shoulder, I was so excited to show everybody the smoker. I just kept opening up the thing and letting people look. And if you're looking, you ain't cooking. And I struggled. I mean, it was cooked, but I struggled to pull, and that didn't feel good. And I remember, I think one of my first briskets I did, because the KJ, you're still direct, even with the baffle plates. I think I might have left it there a bit long, and then it got a bit of that crunchy bottom, and if you overdo a shoulder, man, it's just some dry ass pork. So I mean, I've had, they're few and far between these days, which feels good. But yeah, I've not cooked my barbecue right a bunch. I'm thinking epic fails. I try not to think about them too often. But yeah, there's plenty. Yeah, I think it was the first time I cooked shoulder. And I remember, or maybe my first time really doing mass briskets. I wasn't getting the briskets I needed, and a lot of times the butchers wouldn't give me the full packer. It was always a flat. And I'm like, and then I just, and people, that's why British people get upset with brisket. I'm like, because you're not getting what you need, which is that flat and that point. If you get a flat and it's rolled, this is how I tell people to fix that. Sear it, salt and pepper it, sear it, and then put it in a bath and pot roast it, or slow cook it like you would for a birria, or beef stock. Oh, but yeah, I don't think you can slow cook a flat. You can slow cook I saw the guys from one of the best places in Texas, Blacks, were a big grill, and they did they took the full packer and they cut off the flat bit and just left the flat and the point so they could fit on like a Weber. Because you can actually, you can't fit a full packer on a Weber, but it's a lot of work to really do that. But yeah, that's a kind of an easier, not easier, but it's like that big instead of that big. But yeah, Owen, we've all fucked up, and I'm sure I'll fuck up some more.
My most recent was did a curry, so did like the chicken skewers over the fire in the Kamado, and I'd watched something online and they talked about using a Kamado like a tandoor and actually the clay on the side and trying to put the naans directly on that. I couldn't get that to work. That was a mess. That was a big mess, and my arms did not enjoy being that close to the heat either.
No. Oh my! You try to use it as a tandoor.
I'd seen stuff online talk about it, and I was like, "Well, I've already taken the chicken out. I've got plenty of dough. I can still do them." Which I ended up doing on like a flat top, but inside over. But I was like, "While I'm here, let's try it," and that was fun to clean up. I'll tell you.
Wow, that's a good way of losing your arm hair.
Oh, and dignity, time, teaching children swear words, that sort of thing.
I've got a scar here from I was working my firebox, and I had about 22 full-size pork shoulders in there. So between like 4.5 and 6 kilos. They're big, and I'm moving them around. So the gloves are kind of, there's a lot of pork fat on them. And then I went to my firebox to fill it up. And because I just kept on moving them all around and wrapping them and putting them in bed. When I say put to bed, I cook my shoulder for about 5 to 6 hours. Once I get the mahogany color, I wrap them in peach paper, and then I slow and low all night because I want to get a little bit of sleep. But I've got to fill that firebox up, and I was moving things around in the firebox, adding coals, and a bunch of hot coals flipped off some of the logs into my glove. Because the glove was wet from the pork fat, I couldn't get it off in time. So all I can feel is these coals just searing hole right here. Oh
man,
that hurt, and I've still got scars from it. And then I had to go to America to shoot the TV show, and I've just got scabs everywhere here.
Oh God,
didn't look good. The director's like, "You have to wear a long sleeve." I'm like, "It's 40 degrees out." And they go, "You have to wear a long sleeve." There's a fail for you.
Yeah,
it's a good lesson, though.
Beast. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure you can take those gloves off.
Oh, that's literally put the hairs on my back on end. There's nothing worse than that burning feeling, but to know that you're trapped with it as well. God.
Yeah, that's it. You're trapped. I was like, just couldn't get it off. Oh, that was the worst. Owen, do you got a fail for us?
I don't have a recent fail.
Good job. You're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. No, nothing in particular. Just some standard stuff. I cooked a couple of bits the other night. I was doing I rotisserie a turkey thigh and a whole butternut squash. And then I was doing also a bit of T-bone steak, and I was just doing a medley of things really. And I got to the point where I was really happy with these vine tomatoes that I'd grilled and mushrooms and stuff like that, and then bloody dropped them in the coals. Just, like to the point where, because of all the rotisserie and stuff, I couldn't actually reach them. So then I had to restart again with my tomatoes and veg. So that was a bit annoying.
I know what you're like, though. Your brain would have gone, it's ruined. There's no point now. Borderline throwing the rotisserie away.
But dirty cooking's a great way of cooking,
Yeah.
It is, but it was just because the rotisserie was on. I couldn't get to it in time. I'd have had to take it the whole lot apart just to get.
Okay.
Yeah, because everything was still going. So and I had potatoes on there. So I'd have literally had to take about 10 things out. It was a bit frustrating. So I lost a few bits.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I don't think he is.
No, I'm clearly annoyed about it, aren't I? I hadn't thought about it until you just asked, and now I've annoyed myself. Oh dear. So
few fails, they make us stronger.
They do,
and they're generally funny. They're generally funny in some way, shape, or form. So what we'd love to do as well is our barbecue bingo challenge. Now, we've put together a really high-tech, spent a lot of money on this wheel of ingredients that we've got. However, all of our previous guests have left something, so we've not added to it for a very, very long time. So we'd like to spin the wheel. If an ingredient that it lands on, we'd love for you to do a cook with something that's on the list.
Okay.
But we'd also like you to leave an ingredient for next guests. So
you see the tripe up there? I had a tripe taco from Jonathan Sawyer at Meatopia one year. I hosted Meatopia for 10 years, and he made me this taco made of tripe. And I was like, I just don't really know if I really want to eat tripe. It's one of the best things I've ever eaten.
Really?
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord, was it good?
It's not one I'd jump into straight away, I don't think.
No, but it's fun to be surprised.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Absolutely.
The interesting thing for me is, so all the ingredients you're seeing have been left by the guests. Now, when we first started doing this 90 odd episodes ago, Owen and I were quite nice, and the more we've handed it over to other people, okay, don't get me wrong, scallops is nice, rabbits are interesting, frog legs is different, but you got tripe, kangaroo, things like white pudding, chicken hearts, alligator. It has kind of become its own beast in one sense, but don't feel you have to be harsh on people. You can put nice things on there as well. But there's one thing on there called My Signature Dish, which we always say to people, look, if it goes on that, what are you known for? What's your kind of signature? So from your point of view, what would be your signature dish?
It's either my pulled pork sandwich, which I've served a shit ton of it. I mean, we're doing 72 to 80 a weekend of full-size pork shoulders.
That's probably boring for you then.
I think tomato pie. Tomato pie
Yeah.
is a grandma dish that is really kind of we're known for. So I think that's one of my signature dishes is my tomato pie.
Sounds good. Right, let's give it a spin and see what it says.
Okay.
People on YouTube will love this. The listeners, it's just silence.
Oh, geez.
Vindaloo
paste.
paste.
How are you with spice?
I'm pretty good. I've done a lot of chili challenges, which has actually really wrecked my internal. But I mean, Vindaloo, really, the name came from the transportation of meats by the Portuguese, as they went to Goa and all these places around the world to preserve the meats in wine and bin.
Yeah.
Yes, there was spices there, but it wasn't meant to be blow your head off. But that it's kind of the Vindaloo and the fowls that have gone really hot. Vindaloo kind of the next day can mean Vindapoo or Poocano. But the original Vindaloo, it's all about preserving.
Yeah.
That's what barbecue is. Smoke, sugar, salt, curing, and just preserving meats. So yeah, I look forward to that. You ready for my ingredient?
Yes.
Please, yeah.
It's just because I worked with it this weekend in 2 dishes, and it's gonna be. I'm throwing one in there, marshmallow.
Marshmallow, nice.
Because that it's different, right?
Yeah, it's very different. And for listeners, we were talking just before we started recording, a bit behind the curtain, as it were, and you were telling us the joys about ambrosia salad.
Sorry, before we start. I did Thanksgiving this weekend, and I grew up with a salad that should not have the word salad anywhere near it, but it involves like a sweet cream, like a whipped cream, like we call Cool Whip in America. It comes out of a tub, but I whipped ambrosia custard with some double cream, and then I folded some yogurt in there to kind of unsweeten it. And then it's a lot of canned fruit because grandmas in the Midwest would just serve me, canned to table kind of food. So lots of like mandarin oranges and fruit cocktails with desiccated coconut in there, and then marshmallows. You add them in near the end so they kind of keep their integrity.
Do they? Is there any dignity and integrity with that?
Yeah, that's an oxymoron right there, right? Jumbo shrimp. Oh, anyway, I made it, and I made 2 batches, one with marshmallows, one without. No one, hardly anybody touched it. There's still 2 bowls in my fridge. They're huge, and I just don't know what to do with them. Like, keep thinking I can make a breakfast with it or something, or add it with some granola.
There's a lot of sugar there for the start of the day, to be fair.
I did so they do a candied yams with marshmallows in the States. That's kind of famous. And I did a sweet potato and marshmallows. I did it 2 ways again. I did just normal ones. And then I did one with marshmallows, and they went down the storm. I was like quite surprised. So there you go. Yeah. If you're going to add any kind of brown sugar to something, maybe use the marshmallows as your sweetness. I don't really need much sweet, but it's all about balancing flavors. I love tang, I love vinegar, but also a chef told me, it's all, you got to balance things. So don't be afraid to add a little sugar every now and then. I'm like, okay. I was a bit of a pedantic for a long time. I just wanted tang. I think it's because I drink beer. And then I sort of realized, okay, I got to balance these flavors a bit more. The fats, the vinegars, the tang, the acid, and then a little bit of sweet. It works. But I mean, what is barbecue sauce? It's sugar, tomatoes, and vinegar, and then you play with stuff to give it the complexities. But that's why I kind of prefer white sauces, because there's none or very little sugar. It gives me that kind of that tang, that moorishness, like you get with pickles.
Yeah.
You don't really get it in the UK, do you? Like a white sauce barbecue sauce.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I make it all the time, and I teach people how to make it. But it's just vinegar and mayonnaise and lots of cracked pepper. I add like kind of charred lemon juice and horseradish and a bit of Worcester sauce to it, just to kind of add complexity. But also, a lot of people add sugar. But you can add it. You can double dip and triple dip your chicken into it. And as long as it's it's almost a store bought mayonnaise, because if you make the mayonnaise, it'll split. You got to be careful to split. But Chris Lilly from Big Bob Gibson, he showed me his version, and he has a really runny, and he has used distilled vinegar with a really low content, so he has a really mild tang. It's all about just less is more for him and Big Bob Gibson, who put it on the map in Northern Alabama. That's my favorite sauce of all the sauces.
I need to look into recipes and actually start doing some myself, because I've heard so many people talk about it, and it's not something by the time I've cooked stuff, I go into the larder, I always think, oh, I should have done that. So there you go. That's my homework for the weekend.
Make a big bowl of white sauce, Alabama white sauce, and then have a thinner version for dipping, and then a thicker version for serving on the table. So split it. And add a bit more vinegar, and then just keep putting your chicken. And once it's like halfway through or 2/3 through, just keep dipping it and put it back on the grill so it kind of sets in.
Oh,
nice.
Because there's no sugar in there, you can keep doing it. It won't burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, sounds so good.
That sauce.
Yeah.
So it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. As we kind of come to the close, is there anything that we haven't discussed yet that you wanted to share with the group?
No, I want to go on to pizza.
The takeaway from this whole thing, pizza.
Yeah, I think that's my next journey, is to just, we've written a lot of pizza recipes in our books, but I really want to. I love serving barbecue, but Choppy's gone into pizza. If you go to his pop-ups, he's serving pizza. It's fun, and it's what we eat. We love eating burgers. We love eating. Oh, my favorite burger. If you see an Oklahoma on the menu, get an Oklahoma. They smash like paper thin onions into the beef, and that's like, and get it animal style, like with a mustard crust. That's like my favorite burger. Double smash Oklahoma style onion burger with a mustard crust.
Nice.
That's my favorite burger. My favorite steaks are ribeye. I love a fish taco. I have 4 kids: Blue, Noah, Frazier, and now Della, which is the name of our smoker. Then we named a kid Della, which my missus doesn't really like, that we have a smoker called Della, and we have a beer called Della. But it's my grandma. I got raised by grandparents when I was going with all the crazy kidnappings and divorces as a 8-year-old. So grandmas mean a lot to me, and that's where I learned how to cook. Grandmas and grandpas.
That's where the soul is in cooking, right? It feels like.
Yeah. So I spent half my summer in Virginia Beach with grandma and granddaddy, and he would take me fishing on the Atlantic. And this is my favorite childhood memory. Here we go. Before I leave you, I'd go out. My Uncle Rip was he drove the PBR beer truck, past Blue Ribbon. It's a very Americana beer. And he would unload 10 cases for granddaddy So granddaddy just had a fridge next to the washer and dryer that just was full of beer, and he just drank. So on the way to the boat, which is about a half an hour drive, he'd kill 2 or 3 cans. And he'd have a can outside of grandma's house with a pull tab. And then he'd pull over on the side of the highway and he'd give me the keys and say, he'd go through every kid's name in the family before he got to mine. He'd get through a couple dogs' names before he said it. He'd go, Rip, which is his son, and Pam, which is my mom, Beth, Tiffany, Rambler, Spanky, Punch. And then he would just say, Chief, why don't you go on back at Granddaddy Bear? And I run down the car, the Buick, open it up, and he's missing fingers because he got drunk and the fan belt broke on the boat, and he went to grab it. He ripped his fingers off. The guy's just
blimey.
Drill sergeant in the Army, gnarly. And he'd go out and he'd kill a case of beer with his brother. And they got so hammered they would pass out. And we're out in the Atlantic. But my dad was a navigational officer on deck in the Navy. He was picking up Gemini 11 when it would splash down. So my dad was calling. He knew he was communications officer on deck and he was navigations officer on deck. So he knew how to read horizons. So I learned how to read horizons as a young kid. So I was actually looking forward to my granddaddy and my uncle Seeley passing out so I could bring the boat in. It's a pretty big entrance. It's where all the big naval shipyard was. So it's a big jetty to get through. And I could read all the lights on the horizon when the time we were coming in. So we would get in, he would dock it because he wouldn't let me dock it. He'd always come to from his drunken stupor. And then we would then clean fish for hours. So we'd come in with 150, 175 fish we would catch because this is the Atlantic in the 70s. And he would cut the head off, and then I would slice the right here on the fish, and I pull all the guts out, and we put them in these tumble dryer things that would descale them. And then grandma would save all the plastic bags for the bread. And we would just fill everything with like 3 or 4 fish, tie it up and put it in an igloo cooler on ice. And he'd fill 2 of them. And on the way home, we would stop off at everybody's houses, like all the friends and family, drop off fresh fish. And they would give us the bounty from their backyard, fruit, veg, bread they baked. Maybe they got some meat. They butchered a pig. And we would come home with all this stuff that we kind of just gave people stuff because we had a bounty of fish. And that way of living was one of my favorite memories of childhood, was just, and then coming home and having a fish fry. And that's how we ate it. We didn't grill it. Grandma would roll it in cornmeal and cook it in lard in this big cast iron skillet with spoon bread, all these kind of Southern dishes. And to me, that was like my favorite memory of food as a child.
Yeah. And that's community at its heart as well.
Yeah.
It's community. It's family. It's community. It's fishing.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with that little story because that's one of my favorites growing up.
I appreciate it. Look, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've been so excited to have you on, and no doubt we'll bump into you again next year into the festival season.
Well, next time you come to the festival, come and hang out, and I'll feed you.
Oh, done. There you go. That's a contract signed.
But thanks for the invite. Thanks for the chat. I appreciate it.
We'll let you know when it comes out.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much, Christian. Cheers.
No worries. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Owen.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye.
That's it for another episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast. Wow, what an episode. So great to speak to Christian, DJ Barbecue. No doubt most of you have seen him at some festival, or you've read his book, or you've tried his rubs, or you've watched him on YouTube. Truly a fountain of knowledge. Really great to have him on. As ever, we want to hear from you. Do please reach out on our social channels. And until next time, keep on grilling.
Today's episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast is brought to you by AOS Outdoor Kitchens. They are the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.